announced a recall of specific batches of its 48-hour 100 millimeter roll-on deodorants following reports of skin irritation in South Africa, the UK and Ireland. While the formula itself hasn't changed, the company confirmed that a modification in the manufacturing process of a raw material caused unexpected reactions for some users. The affected batches are limited and identifiable by the batch code printed at the bottom of the packaging. Mitchum has moved quickly to return to its original process and ensure affected products are removed from shelves. But the incident raises important questions about skin safety, product testing, and what consumers should do if they have been affected. To help us unpack this, we are joined by Dr. Omphemetse Langa, medical doctor with expertise in advanced aesthetic medicine, specializing in acne and hyperpigmentation treatments. Dr. Omphemetse, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to the Upside. Let's talk about the irritations, the skin irritations that have been reported so far by the users, and perhaps those who are currently using it did not even think that it could be because of a Mitchum deodorant. What have been the reports so far in terms of the irritations that have been reported by the users?
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for having me. Just to correct you before we start, I'm Dr. Omphemetse Langa.
All right, apologies for that. Thank you so much, doctor. Thank you.
So before we can start, I would just want us to understand, or rather define a deodorant, and just to get in depth of what does a deodorant do and what are the chemical reactions that one can have when using a deodorant. I don't know if you can still hear me.
We can hear you, Doc. You're welcome to go ahead.
Thank you. So a deodorant is actually a topical personal skincare product that's usually applied on the skin to help with body odor, mostly stemming from the bacterial decomposition of perspiration. So we know that perspiration is the process of sweating. The process of sweating causes an overgrowth of bacteria. The bacteria then causes an odor. Remember that a deodorant is different from an antiperspirant. So an antiperspirant is used to disinhibit perspiration. So there's a difference between the two. The deodorant works for the odor. The antiperspirant works to inhibit the perspiration process. Very much important, what we want from this product is that they should not irritate the skin. They should definitely be safe and non-toxic, whether they're for cosmetic use or medical use. They should be easy to apply and they should stick well to the skin. They shouldn't ruin the clothes and should cover up body odor with a nice scent rather than having a bad odor.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing to distinguish, Doc, because I don't think a lot of us really know the difference between a deodorant and an antiperspirant. And it's always just so good to know that distinction. Also, when you're purchasing, what exactly are you buying? What are the reasons you're buying this particular product for? So yes, a case in point that we're discussing, a very popular deodorant or antiperspirant, or roll-on, if you want to call that, brand has announced a recall of a specific batch of the roll-on deodorants, actually, following reports of skin irritations from customers in South Africa and in other places abroad as well. We're joined on the line by Dr. Omphemetse Langa. She is a medical doctor, and we're really just unpacking from a medical perspective what skin irritation looks like, when to call the doctor, and also what are we actually using? What are some of these ingredients in there that are triggering these irritations? We're going to take a break, then we're going to continue the conversation.
Get the news, music, and lifestyle of Africa on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Ukatili wa kijinsia unaharibu maisha na kutenga jamii. Hutokea nyumbani, shuleni, kazini na mara nyingi kwa ukimya. Lakini hauwezi kuendelea. Ukiona, ongea. Ikiwa unaumia, funguka, kwa sababu kutofanya lolote sio chaguo. Sikiliza vituo vyote 19 vya redio kuanzia Jumatano ya tarehe 23 Julai kwenye mijadala, ushauri, tamthilia, maonyesho ya elimu na mahojiano na wataalamu, manusura, watunga sheria na nchi nzima iliyoathirika na ukatili wa kijinsia kwenye vituo vyako pendwa vya redio. Piga simu 0800 428 ili kuripoti unyanyasaji au kupata msaada. GBV ikomeshwe na wewe. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na shirika la SABC.
The Upside. On the Upside, your voice matters.
Yes, it does matter. It is 22 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. I do apologize. There you see our social media specialist here, is like, no, can't carry on with the show. Must grab pictures of you so that people can see you at Channel Africa on Facebook and YouTube, and at Channel Africa 1 on TikTok. Let's continue our conversation about this Mitchum recall and the effects that it has had on people's skins, and why we need to be aware of the products that we're putting and applying on our skins.
Yeah, that's another thing we're learning. It's actually a skin issue as well, needs medical attention. Dr. Omphemetse, thank you for staying on the line. Let's talk about how we can distinguish between something that's a mild irritation that I can just put, a little bit of tea tree oil over and it's fine, versus when it becomes so concerning that I've got to come and see a medical doctor like yourself.
Definitely. That's a very important question. I really love it. So it's very important to distinguish between a mild reaction and a severe reaction. And the reason why we want to distinguish between the two is that a severe skin irritation can actually be life-threatening. If we talk about a mild skin reaction, we are talking about, a localized reaction. Meaning it is only on a particular area or surface of the body. Right? It can get itching, yes, it can get swollen, and it can get red. However, the function would still be there. Let's say, for example, you had an irritation just on the wrist area. Let's say you were touching something, or rather, let's say you had your watch on and your watch is irritating. So that localized area where your watch is sitting, you can have a little bit of rash, you can have some redness, a bit of swelling. That we can call a mild reaction. However, a severe skin reaction that will require one to be seen by a medical doctor or to get medical attention. It would be a reaction that goes to what we call angioedema, right? Angioedema is now when you have a reaction and it results on your hands getting to be swollen, and it results on the lips or the mouth getting to be swollen. So you can imagine that the hands and the mouth are the organs that we actually use on an everyday basis. If your hands are swollen, you do not have function. You're not able to use them. If your mouth is swollen, you're not able to talk. You understand? But it can also get to an extent of what we call an anaphylactic shock. Now, an anaphylactic shock is a severe skin reaction whereby there's also swelling of the vocal cords. And when you have swelling of the vocal cords, you can imagine that oxygen, which enters our body through the mouth or the nose, will not be able to get into the lungs. And that can actually result in death. An anaphylactic shock doesn't need to be caused by something that you put inside the body. even a small, let's say, application of whatever can actually get into the bloodstream, causing an anaphylactic shock.
Doctor, some of the users who have bought the Mitchum deodorants over the past couple of weeks have reported, some of them, not all of them, have reported that a darkening of their underarms. What seems to be causing that? Some have reported irritation. Yes, it's irritating. It's itchy. But some have also reported that it's darkening their underarms. What could be the cause of that? And is that a cause for concern that we need to go to a doctor for?
Definitely. So we need to understand that whatever that we put into our skin, it might have a reaction, or rather it has a reaction because it goes into the living cells. So if it is a product that's going to kill the cells, it's going to result in death of the cells, resulting in blockage of the pores resulting in further death of the cell. And that's how you get what we call hyperpigmentation of the skin due to death of the cell or debris that's piling up onto the skin.
Okay. So, I'm just thinking there's obviously a lot of chemicals in these products, doctor, and we've got to be really careful. And I think for the population that is already dealing with skin sensitivities, you've got to be extra, extra careful when you're buying your deodorant or antiperspirant, as it were. So, are there any safer alternatives? Or perhaps the question is, what ingredients should I be looking at if I'm buying an antiperspirant? For example, I can't necessarily use one that is going to be so antiperspirant that I can't sweat at all, and it affects my lymphatic drainage, which is very, very important to me. So what kind of ingredients should we be looking for? And I think really when we really look broader at the space of products and what we're using, people are looking for maybe more natural alternatives or safer deodorants, not necessarily talking about brands, but what on the ingredient list would be safer to use.
Very much important. When we look at these ingredients, we want to find antibacterial agents. You understand that the AMPers, when you sweat, the overgrowth of bacteria becomes quite extreme because of the environments that's closed up. So you want to find an antibacterial agent in this deodorant or antiperspirants. You want to also find what we call chlorhexidine acetate, which is also an antiseptic because that area we don't clean. It's not exposed to air as compared to the skin. So the chlorhexidine then goes into the skin to remove the cells that could be clogging up inside the pores. What is very much important as well is to not use deodorants that have got high alcohol content, because in doing so, the alcohol can actually irritate the skin and as well as dry off the skin, which can result also in irritation.
What is high alcohol in percentage terms, doctor?
I would not want to be specific, but because in the medical field, we don't learn about cosmetics. But when we talk about high alcohol percentage, we're talking about an amount of alcohol that's not meant to irritate the skin. So remember we had our, sanitizers that would contain about 75% of alcohol. When we put that on our skin, it was not itchy. It was not irritating the skin. However, remember that there's a certain population of people that they themselves have skin conditions. So if you're going to use 75% of alcohol onto your hands and you have eczema, you are going to have an irritation. So it depends from person to person. I wouldn't say even doctors are able to prescribe deodorant. However, we are able to prescribe what we call antiperspirant. That is why I wanted us to define the difference between the two.
All right, amazing. Doctor, thank you so much for your time this afternoon and for your insights. The voice of Dr. Omphemetse Langa, medical doctor and aesthetic medicine expert, helping us to unpack the recent Mitchum deodorant recall. And if you'd like to learn more about the Mitchum recall, simply go to the National Consumer Commission to find out about the details, about the batch name, numbers, and so on and so forth. There's a toll-free number as well, customer support, 0800 128 46. That's +27 in South Africa. It's 31 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. Musibudi Makura standing by with sport.